Hi, I'm Emily Dutton and I'm the Gardens Access and Learning Officer at the Horniman Museum. So I work at in the learning team at the museum, working between the learning team and the gardening team. So I have a role that's quite public facing in that I work with school groups, community groups, families, running activities and sessions, mainly in the gardens, but sometimes inside, like in a room like this. But I also have a role sort of doing research and project work as well, which is much more in the background and developing new things really for the gardens and for the museum. When I'm in a public facing role, I guess you're most likely to see me running around the gardens with groups of young people or families doing all sorts of activities, perhaps down on the nature trail as well. Also working on some pilot projects in the gardens to develop some exhibition spaces. So we've got a new wildlife garden which is being developed again between myself and the gardens team, and a new medicinal garden which should be open at the end of May, and that has been a real collaboration between lots of different people, so anthropology, natural history, the gardens, learning. So it's been really lovely to work with teams from across the museum to do that. The wildlife garden I was really keen to have. I really wanted an outdoor learning space, kind of like an outdoor classroom really, that was contained, that had lots of different teaching tools within it, and which we could use to draw out themes of sustainability, biodiversity, gardening for wildlife, which is really popular at the moment just with general visitors. Visitors do want to know what sorts of things they can be doing to increase wildlife in their gardens. The gardens team have been fantastic. They've basically been creating it over the last month or so, and that's due to open at the end of the month. So we've got a composting area, a log pile which is great as a mini beast habitat, particularly for encouraging local insects, including stag beetles, which there are quite a few of in this area, but they're increasingly quite rare. We're going to have a small raised pond for looking at doing pond dipping activities. We've got a seating area made out of recycled wood. And we're going to have all year round planting, very rich and nectar rich planting, to really encourage wildlife all the year round. It's going to be a bit more higgledy-piggledy and a bit less tidy than the rest of the gardens, but I think hopefully in quite a charming way. Okay, so this is something I've been working quite closely with the gardens team on. They've been absolutely brilliant. We're trying to grow all sorts of different food plants in food packaging to really illustrate in sort of teaching sessions, mainly with school groups, but also with families and community groups, what we're eating, really. And also it can be used to sort of talk to them about different parts of the plant, and it's also just a bit of fun. And eventually, we'd quite like to get people growing their own food plants in food packaging. So here we've got our potato plant growing in some French fries frozen bag. Yeah, I'm hoping not too long I might have some potatoes that I can have for my tea in this one. This is quite nice. We've got some tomato and basil soup here. So we've got some basil growing in a tomato plant, and what I love about this activity is it's something that teachers often say they're going to go back to school and have a go at themselves. So I'm trying to encourage that, and yeah, really get kids interested in the food that they're eating, and also potentially growing their own food and understanding where it is that their food comes from. It's surprising how often they don't realise that chips are made from potato or that tomato is actually a plant. So this is a really nice way of making those connections for them. Medicinal garden is going to be an outdoor exhibit garden, so it'll be a mixture of plants and small amounts of sort of interpretation on panels. We've tried to keep it quite light on the amount of writing we've used because it's going to be quite visual. It's divided up into different parts of the body. So we've got 2 beds. Each bed is divided into 5 body parts from head to toe. And then within that section, we're planting plants that heal specifically illnesses for that part of the body. So the gardens team have worked really hard doing lots of research into different sorts of plants that we might be able to keep in the garden pretty much all year round. Some of it will be seasonal, but some of the plants will be able to keep all year round. And then we've had various teams across the museum working on the interpretation and what we're going to say about those plants, so it's been really collaborative. I'm hoping it's going to be of interest to everyone really, any kind of gardens visitor. Obviously if you've got an interest specifically in medicinal plants, it's going to be fantastic, but young people right the way through, hopefully, it should be a really nice addition to the gardens. We've got lots of wallflowers planted in the area between the sunken garden and the African garden. So it's a beautiful bed of brightly coloured flowers. But over the next sort of couple of weeks, that will all be taken out, and the medicinal plants which we're growing in the nursery will be put in. We've got loads of really interesting medicinal plants to go in. for example, we'll be growing witch hazel, echinacea, if anyone's ever taken echinacea for a cold, aloe vera, so some really exciting plants that have come from all over the world. And then also some stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think is used in medicine, so snowdrops and daffodils, which will be out obviously next springtime. Really important research going on in those plants at the moment to find cures for Alzheimer's disease. So it should be a really interesting mix of exotic, less exotic, far-flung plants, and also things that you see every day, perhaps on your doorstep around London. What I would say is, as you go around the whole experience, try and think and look at the connections that you can make between the different areas and the different collections. Sometimes people will come and they'll say, oh, it's a bit of a strange mix of stuff you've got there. But actually, when you dig deeper and you look at why those things are there and how much they interrelate with each other, that's when it gets really, really fascinating. And I think that would be the thing I'd want to draw out or encourage people to think about when they come here, and something that I think is really, really important and really unique and lovely about this museum.